Experiencing test anxiety is natural. In fact, most students, even those who have prepared extensively, will experience some level of anxiety before and during tests. While a certain level of test anxiety is beneficial, it motivates us to adequately prepare. Too much can be a deterrent if it prevents you from studying, adequately preparing, or prohibits concentration during a test. The more efficient you become at studying, the more information you will retain long term. This module will discuss why are study skills important, what kind of learning style is best for me, and 10 strategies of successful students. Each student has different learning preferences and styles that benefit them. Some find they prefer different learning styles in different circumstances. There is no right or wrong answer to which learning style is best for you. However, by better understanding your own learning styles, you can employ techniques that will improve the efficiency and quality of your learning. There are 6 key learning styles. These include visual. If you prefer lessons that employ imagery to teach, chances are you're a visual learner. Visual learners retain information more easily when it's presented in pictures, videos, graphs, and books. These learners benefit when information is presented on an overhead projector, a whiteboard, or on a piece of paper. Visual learners often make their notes very detailed and spend extra time reviewing information from textbooks. Visual learners also frequently draw pictures or develop diagrams when trying to comprehend a subject or memorize information. If you're a visual learner, use pictures, images, color, diagrams, and other visual media in your note-taking, test preparation, and studying. Whenever possible, use pictures instead of text. Try to develop diagrams to understand concepts and storyboards to remember important sequences and relationships. Oral or auditory learners retain information better when it's presented in lecture format via speeches, audio recordings, and other forms of verbal communication. While a visual learner would prefer to read a book or watch a video, auditory learners would prefer to attend a lecture or listen to a book on tape. Auditory learners are also big on sound and music. They can typically sing, are musically inclined, play an instrument, and can identify different sounds. If you're an auditory learner, integrate auditory media, listening techniques, sound, rhyme, or even music in your learning and studying. You may also consider using background music and sounds to help you with the visualization of processes and systems. For example, if you're practicing flight procedures, you would consider playing a recording of an aircraft in the background as you study. You can also use music, rhythm, rhyming, and music techniques to memorize and retain information. Replacing the lyrics of a favorite song with information you're learning is a very powerful way to memorize large amounts of information for auditory learners. Verbal learning involves both writing and speaking. People who are verbal learners usually find it easy to express themselves both verbally and in writing. They often love to read and write, enjoy rhymes, tongue twisters, and limericks. They also have a well-developed vocabulary, like to find meaning of words, and are able to assimilate new words into their vocabulary with relative ease. Verbal learners should try employing learning and studying techniques that involve speaking and or writing. Reading aloud while reviewing subject matter is useful for verbal learners. Word-based techniques such as scripting and assertion are effective strategies for improving memory and recall for verbal learners. Acronym mnemonics are also an effective trick verbal learners can use to memorize lists and sequences. Physical or kinesthetic learners, also referred to as tactile learners, retain information best through hands-on interaction and participation. They need to experience things. For example, a physical learner in the automotive repair class would learn better working directly on cars than sitting through a lecture or reading about a book of cars. Physical learners excel in classes where they're assigned to study in labs. If you're a physical learner, employ touch, action, interaction, and hands-on involvement in your study and learning activities. Social or interpersonal learners usually have excellent written and verbal communication skills. These individuals are at ease speaking with others and are adept at comprehending other people's perspectives. For this reason, people frequently seek counsel from social learners. Social learners learn best working with groups and take opportunities to meet individually with teachers. If you like bouncing your ideas off of others, prefer working through issues as a group, and thoroughly enjoy working with others, there's a good chance you're a social learner. If you're a social learner, you should seek opportunities to study with others. If the class you're in doesn't have formal groups, make your own group. Solitary or intrapersonal learners usually prefer working by themselves in private settings. They do not rely on others for help when solving a problem or studying. Solitary learners frequently analyze their learning preferences and methods. Since solitary learners prefer to work alone, it is possible for them to waste time on a difficult problem before seeking assistance. However, solitary learning can be a very effective learning style for students. To get the most out of your time studying, it is very helpful to identify your personal learning preferences and styles. The key to becoming an effective student is learning how to study smarter, not harder. This becomes true as you advance in your education. An hour or two of studying a day is usually sufficient to make it through high school with satisfactory grades, but when college arrives, there aren't enough hours in the day to get all of your studying in if you don't know how to study smarter. While some students are able to breeze through school with minimal effort, this is the exception. The vast majority of successful students achieve their success by developing and applying effective study habits. The following are the top 10 study habits employed by highly successful students. So if you want to become a successful student, don't get discouraged and don't give up. Just work to develop each of the study habits below, and you'll see your grades go up, your knowledge increase, and your ability to learn and assimilate information improve. Don't cram. Ever find yourself up late at night, expending more energy trying to keep your eyelids open than you are studying? If so, it's time for a change. Successful students typically space their work out over shorter periods of time and rarely try to cram all of their studying into just 1 or 2 sessions. If you want to become a successful student, then you need to learn to be consistent in your studies and to have regular, yet shorter study periods. Plan your study time. Successful students schedule specific times throughout the week when they are going to study, and then they stick with their schedule. Students who study sporadically and whimsically typically do not perform as well as students who have a set study schedule. Even if you're all caught up with your studies, creating a weekly routine where you set aside a period of time a few days a week to review your courses will ensure you develop habits that will enable you to succeed in your education long term. Be consistent. Not only is it important that you plan when you're going to study, it's important you create a consistent daily study routine. When you study at the same time each day and each week, your studying will become a regular part of your life. You'll be mentally and emotionally more prepared for each study session, and each study session will become more productive. If you have to change your schedule from time to time due to unexpected events, that's okay. But get back on your routine as soon as the event has passed. Set goals. Simply studying without direction is not effective. You need to know exactly what you need to accomplish during each study session. Before you start studying, set a study session goal that supports your overall academic goal. For example, memorize 30 vocabulary words in order to ace the vocabulary section on an upcoming Spanish test. Don't procrastinate. It's very easy and common to put off your study session because of a lack of interest in the subject. You have other things you need to get done, or just because the assignment is hard. Successful students do not procrastinate studying. If you procrastinate your study session, your studying will become much less effective and you may not get everything accomplished that you need to. Procrastination also leads to rushing, and rushing is the number one cause of errors. Tackle the hardest subject first. As your most difficult assignment or subject will require the most effort and mental energy, you should start with it first. Once you've completed the most difficult work, it will be much easier to complete the rest of your work. Believe it or not, starting with the most difficult subject will greatly improve the effectiveness of your study sessions and your academic performance. Review your notes. Obviously, before you can review your notes, you must first have notes to review. Always make sure to take good notes in class. Before you start each study session and before you start a particular assignment, review your notes thoroughly to make sure you know how to complete the assignment correctly. Reviewing your notes before each study session will help you remember important subject matter learned during the day and make sure your studying is targeted and effective. Eliminate distractions. Everyone gets distracted by something. Maybe it's the TV, or maybe it's family, or maybe it's just too quiet. Some people actually study better with a little background noise. When you're distracted while studying, you lose your train of thought and are unable to focus, both of which will lead to very ineffective studying. Before you start studying, find a place where you won't be disturbed or distracted. For some people, this is a quiet cubicle in the recesses of the library. For others, it's in a common area where there is a little background noise. Use study groups when appropriate. Ever heard the phrase, 2 heads are better than one? Well, this can be especially true when it comes to studying. Working in groups enables you to get help from others when you're struggling to understand a concept, complete assignments more quickly, and teach others, thereby helping both the other students and yourself to internalize the subject matter. However, study groups can become very ineffective if they're not structured and if group members come unprepared. Effective students use study groups effectively. Use weekends to review. Successful students review what they've learned during the week over the weekend. This way, they're well prepared to continue learning new concepts that build upon previous coursework and knowledge acquired from the previous week. We're confident that if you'll develop the habits outlined above, that you'll see an improvement in your academic success. Find more tips by checking out Prep Step for Colleges on the library website. And if you need further help, set up an appointment with Justin LaFoon by following the link on this slide or calling the Advising and Support Center